Welcome back to Cocktails and Classics. I'm Dylan. Joining me is Ben Cam. And this week we're taking a look at the 2017 horror film Get Out. To kick things off and get everybody in the right mood, we're going to go to this week's cocktail, the iced tea cocktail. It's really trying to find something to tie in the tea scene. That, spoilers, of course, you're listening to a movie review podcast. So, in the film, Rose's mother hypnotizes Chris, like using a spoon hitting the side of a teacup. So I was like, it's a beverage. Let's lean into that a little bit. So I was trying to find something and trying to keep it summery. You know, it's June right now as we're recording this. So in like a Collins glass, you're going to take 8 ounces of iced black tea, 1.5 ounces of honey whiskey. They used Wild Turkey American honey whiskey. And then it's kind of like a blank slate cocktail, I would almost say. They say you can use some lemon, some mint leaves to garnish. I feel like you could also squeeze that lemon in there. Express a little mint, muddle a little mint. You could really spice this up and zhuzh it up however you want. I used sweet tea, the Alabama boy in me. We didn't have black tea, so I handed it to the store, and she was like, "They have this." I was like, "Sweet tea works, I guess." I wanted unsweet, but it helps cut through the. I just used bourbon. Since I was like, I don't really have honey whiskey, I was going to just put honey in there. I just cut out the honey.
So what you're saying is you didn't do any of this?
Hey, black tea and whiskey, dude. Whatever. That's what I did.
I've done, not this time around, but I've done iced tea and then like peach whiskey. You could really use any flavored whiskey to make this kind of your own thing. But it was really good, like a peach iced tea. That shit was fire. But yeah, I think this is really one that take it and make it your own, you know? You don't have to do exactly as we tell you to do. Be an individual.
Must. Let me get my little tea glass out here and spin the rim. And you must. But no, I think the flavored whiskey is crucial though because of the 10% less alcohol by volume that's in the flavored whiskeys. Because in regular bourbon, that's a lot more. You're getting a lot more.
A lot more kick. Dylan about to be turned. Dylan's already in the sunken place.
Oh my god.
So if you want to make one of these baddies, check the show notes below and get your recipe and use it as a loose guide, I would say, to make yourself an iced tea cocktail. Enjoy it out on the porch, or enjoy it while you're watching Get Out. This week's episode is sponsored by Liquid IV. Ben and Cam, they live up in Michigan. I'm down in Georgia. We've got Electric Forest this weekend and Music Midtown, big Atlanta festivals coming up soon. And so to prepare for your festivals and festival season, you got to think about your outfits. You got to think about your long hours dancing, partying, hot temperatures. And you want to rehydrate efficiently, and that is essential. So Liquid IV has you covered while you prep before, whether you're going to power through that headliner and you're going to recover after the weekend. One stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. Contains 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C, with 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. They're made from premium ingredients. They're non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. What I love most about Liquid IV is the variety of flavors that you can get. My personal favorite is strawberry lemonade. That's very convenient. If you're packing just for the day, you're packing for a festival, the little sachets, you can easily throw them in a fanny pack, in your pocket, and all you gotta do is throw them in your water. And if you want to try out Liquid IV, head to the link below in the show notes, and you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code Cocktails and Classics. That's Cocktails and Classics at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code Cocktails and Classics at liquidiv.com. Thanks again to Liquid IV for sponsoring this week's episode. Get Out. It's a 2017 horror film, written by Jordan Peele. Currently sits at a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. It's the story of a young African-American visits his white girlfriend's parents for the weekend, where his simmering uneasiness about their reception of him eventually reaches a boiling point. I would say, I guess.
It's hard to give a description of this movie without giving it all away.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
Get Out was nominated for 4 Oscars, Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, Best Achievement in Directing, and Best Original Screenplay, which it won. Stars Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, Catherine Keener, Caleb Landry Jones, Lakeith Stanfield, Stephen Root, and Little Rel Howard. That's pretty much all the big names I would say that are in it.
Lot of character actors. I feel like this movie I was constantly like, I know that person from somewhere. Wait, I know that person. Bradley Whitford I recognize right away, because everything I see him in, I automatically think of him as the bad guy from Billy Madison. Every time. No matter what it is. I see him and I'm like, oh hey, it's that guy from Billy Madison.
Yeah, I recognized him from... I started watching West Wing like a year or 2 ago, and I didn't finish it, but I recognized him from West Wing. And then Catherine Keener, like, I don't know what it is I saw her in recently, I feel like, but she like stood out to me, and I was like, damn, what was it that I saw her in recently?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Marcus Henderson is in Tacoma FD. It's a show on like, I don't know what, I think it's True TV, but it's two of the guys from Broken Lizard that do it. So I saw him and I was immediately like, wait a minute, I know that guy. Stephen Root, famously Milton from Office Space.
oh, he's also Barry.
Oh no,
he's in. No, that's not him, right?
That's not him. No,
But he's in Barry as.
He is in Barry.
I don't remember his name.
Actually, no, he is Milton in Office Space. I was
Really?
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
And then he's done a lot of voice acting work too. Bill Dauterive from King of the Hill.
I loved Allison Williams in House of Cards and Fantastic Four.
Is it the new Fantastic Four?
I'm just kidding. It's
That's
not
Kate
her.
Mara.
I know. It's she's to me. Allison Williams is like a knockoff Kate Mara. It's like we have a Kate Mara at home, you know.
She's Brian Williams' daughter? What? How did I never put that together?
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that either.
I did enjoy how just insane they tried to make her look at the end when she's like sitting on her bed cross-legged and all white, just sipping straight milk while she's like scouting out future boyfriends.
Well, not just
Top
sipping straight milk.
NCAA prospects.
She was
True.
eating Fruit Loops without
Colored
putting them in the
cereal.
milk. Okay.
She
whatever.
needed that.
From it's Symbolism.
They were Fruit Loops, all right? So
She
I'm
needed
gonna say.
she needed the crunch cup or whatever it's called.
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's not. I don't mean that they're not Fruit Loops. What I'm saying is,
Oh, I thought
She's
you were
like
trying to say
separating
that.
them.
I thought you were just trying to give them a generic name.
No,
I was like,
no,
what the fuck,
no,
man?
no.
Just let
What
me
I'm
have
s-
this.
no. What I'm saying is that's intentional of like keeping like the white separate from the colors because they're all racist.
Seems like a stretch, but that's all right.
Why nothing Jordan Peele does is on accident. Like nothing in there is just there because. Like you think he just put that in there just like willy-nilly? He's like, it'd be kooky if she just ate some cereal
You know what crazy white bitches do? They eat cereal separate from their milk.
and have the milk in a glass on the side.
Cam
No.
sounds like every art teacher ever right now, where you like
Okay,
just do
sure,
something and then
sure.
and then they're like, oh my god, it
Wow.
was so great, the symbolism of when
I
they
love
like
the
put the
symbolism
milk
and the-
separate from the.
I love the
Listen
mise en scène.
to interviews with Jordan Peele. Nothing he does is on accident. Or at least most stuff. Like sometimes it does and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a really neat idea. I didn't like plan it exactly that way, but no, if you listen to stuff when he's talking about his movies, there's a lot of stuff that's not. Most of it's not on accident.
Like I said, I didn't realize that's where you were going with it, was keeping the
Yeah, I
colors
wasn't
separate.
trying to be like,
I
don't
thought you
call
were
them
just-
Fruit Loops on the pod, Ben. Idiot. We don't have the rights to Fruit Loops, Ben.
I thought you were about to be, yeah. Hey, if Fruit Loops isn't a sponsor, fuck Fruit Loops. We're going to call them generic colored cereal.
No, I mean, I think the whole movie is very full of, like, symbolism and also foreshadowing. I think I haven't watched it in a while, and this is I don't remember the last time I actually watched it, but this is the first time watching it where I'm like, all right, I'm going to look while watching this movie, knowing what happens, and see if I can, like, kind of, like, figure out, see what has, like, either double meanings or foreshadows something later or something like that. And there is a lot.
Well, I only seen it when it came out, and then watching it now, I was like, damn, I feel like I didn't pay enough attention to, like,
exactly.
early on in the movie when, like, the first little, like, the party scene where they're like, oh yeah, we're having a party, but then it's literally everyone just, like, all these awkward white people fawning over his body, being like, would you make a good, like, body for my husband?
Body replacement?
Like, are you, like, oh, are you strong? What's your favorite sport? You like golf? Let me see your swing. Like, it's just so
all right,
cringy.
I think I picked up on that. Okay, so I didn't get it when the dad asked him, what's your sport?
Mm-hmm.
But when the brother brought up the MMA thing, was like, okay, this is, like, why? The way that he phrased it of, with a little bit of training, your body would be great for this, was where it was like, all right, this seems kind of weird. And then when he meets the first old guy at the party who's like, oh, I don't golf anymore, but, like, let me see your golf swing, is when it was like, oh, this is weird. They want his body for something.
Yeah. When they drop little hints of, like, of the sinister nature, I think the first major red flag, and, like, I don't know the exact word, but when they go and the dad's like, man, I really hate those deer. Every deer you take out, just love it. Every time I see a deer on the side of the road, just job well done. Like, that feels a little bit racial. It feels like it has some racial undertones. And then a couple minutes later, when he's, like, giving Chris the tour of the house, he's like, oh, this is the kitchen. This is where, we keep a little piece of my mom in here. And you go in, and the first thing you see is Georgina in the kitchen. It's like,
yeah,
that is his mom. As
someone watching for the first time, I picked up on that pretty quick. Like, so, okay. All right, we're going to dive into the fact that this was my first time watching this movie.
Yeah.
So I had known the Armitage family is not what they seem to be, and that's pretty much it. Like, I didn't know, I'd heard something about the sunken place, and I remember the meme of people trying to, like, do the weird run and then, like, straight turn while they run.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I didn't know, like, much about what was going on, but I feel like I caught on pretty quick. I feel like it would have been better seeing this movie, like, right when it came out, where there were, like, absolutely no chance to know anything. Because even knowing, like, okay. But I feel like I remember in the trailers they kind of did that too, where they made that kind of like they played it up like something's not right with the family, something's going on.
True. I think you get a lot of creepy vibes a lot of the time.
But I didn't know the entire, like, oh, they're putting people in other people's bodies right away.
No.
I think the first time I thought it was something like that was when, so they're showing the picture, you see the picture of the grandma and the grandpa, and then the first time he sees Rose in the kitchen, and then before the party, he's talking to, oh, what's his name? Walter. He's talking to Walter out in the garden, and he talks really old-timey, and then he talks about, like, oh, that Rose,
she's like a keeper or something.
Yep. Well, no, the way she said it was just, like, really old-timey.
Right.
Where I was just like, okay, so this dude seems like an old man. So I'm wondering, like, maybe that's... And then I was like, oh, wait, we keep a small piece of my mom in the kitchen. That checks out. And that's where I realized what was going on. So then by the time the party started, and they're, like, all looking at him like, oh, look at your arm. I was like, okay, yep, they are going to try to steal his body.
Yeah, and even, like, at the party, like, you can tell that's the first time many of them have seen Lakeith's guy as a replacement, because he does a little, like, body spin. He's like, look at my new body. How cool.
Yeah. Yeah, when he does the whole, like, oh, and kind of turns around, that's when I was like, oh. Well, even when he sees Chris there, when Chris, and what did he say his name? Logan.
Yeah.
When he meets him, and Logan just talks like an old white guy. This was like, okay, so he's been replaced. I remembered in the trailer them, like, showing him, so I was like, okay, he's got to be something, but like I said, I didn't know it was the whole, like, body replacement thing going on. But as soon as that came in, I was like, okay, they put an old white guy in that. look, from a 29-year-old old white man, I recognize old white behavior when I see it. And that was old white man.
Yeah, that was old white man. I think when I recall watching this the first time, I don't know if I immediately got the body snatcher type thing, but I think it was like, for me, one of the bigger mysteries was, okay, this family's crazy, but is his girlfriend in on it? You know, like, did she intentionally bring him up, or is she, like, genuinely, like, kind of cooked out and willing to, like, save him? And then it becomes, when he finds the pictures of her with previous boyfriends, when he had originally said, oh, you've never been with a black person before, you're like, she's in on it. Fuck, that sucks. Well, that sucks so bad.
She tries to play it off too, where she's like, oh, I don't know where the keys are. I can't find the keys. Oh. And then she, like, stops and she's like, I'm just kidding. Here's the keys. Can't let you leave.
Well, yeah, I think at that point it's like, all right, yeah, you're just playing. Like, he knows that she's in on it, and he knows that he's fucked. He's just trying to, like, I don't even know. He's trying to, like, somehow leave, even though, like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, so I will say they do a good job, because there was, like, throughout, there were moments where you're like, oh, she's 100% in on it. Like, when she's like, oh, so what, your phone was unplugged? Oh, what do you want me to... you want me to go tell my dad? And then it's like, okay. I was constantly like, is she in on this? Is she not?
Right. Because at point she's like, kind of playing him. He's like, no, we can leave. We should leave.
You want to leave? We should leave. And I was like, okay. I'll go get my bag. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's not. Maybe she just keeps... My thought was maybe she's hypnotized, right? Like, maybe her mom's like, she keeps bringing people home, and then every time, like, her mom, like, hypnotizes her, she forgets that person exists, and then they're basically just using her unwilling or unknowingly as bait.
Yeah.
They just kind of throw her out, she finds someone, they bring her back, they do this whole body snatchers thing, they wipe her brain, they repeat the process. But when he finds the picture, I'm like, okay, this seems pretty fucked up. And then as soon as she goes the whole, like, I can't find the keys, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, you're fucked, dude.
But I will give her credit. The way that she just turned that switch where she's like, I can't find the keys. I have the keys. And it was just like, her face just goes like blank of like insane person, crazy blank stare. You're like, oh shit. Not only is she in on it, she's as crazy as the rest of them.
Honestly, probably worse. I feel like she just is. Because I feel like there's a certain level of like, all right, you've bought into this like idea of, I don't know, everlasting life, I guess, or something. But then like she just appears to be insane, as does the brother. They both just appear to be insane. The brother comes across.
The brother seems insane from the minute you meet him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The brother, I feel like he's kind of like, I feel like he's jealous that he's not getting swapped, sort of. I don't know, because that's
I mean, they're young. Like it doesn't happen until you can afford it, and also your own body's failing.
Because like when Ben was talking about like the MMA thing, I was like, I feel like he wants to, and they kind of show him like looking begrudging in the background of like the auction and stuff.
I don't know that he wants to be switched, but he seems like he looks like he's been jealous of everyone that's been there. Like every time they bring someone, he just seems like he's like, I could be a body replacement. I don't know why they don't want. Very much like I don't know why they don't want me. But I did also not put it together, the whole like the dad being the brain surgeon and the mom being a hypnotist. I'll be honest. The fact that the dad was a brain surgeon completely kind of bypassed me. I was so focused on the mom part that when it got to the point where they're explaining the procedure, and I was like, wait a minute. Oh, wait, that's right. The dad's not just a doctor, he's a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
This makes sense now.
I was writing like some of the stuff out, and I thought it was kind of like fucked that the one guy is like, oh, I've been following your art for a long time, like the blind art dealer then like wins the bid to get the artist because he's like a failed artist himself. He was like, oh, I never got my feet off the ground, and then I went blind. So he's like basically going to use Chris's like art career, basically.
It's almost worse than that because he did find a successful calling in art dealing despite being blind, but he wanted it all. So again, I think a lot of what Jordan Peele does is not on accident. And I think that guy represents like people who are ambivalent about the struggles that black people go through, because he's like, oh, I don't like care about your skin color, man. I just want your eyes. Like, I just want to use you. I don't really care what color you are. You know, I don't care about any of that. I'm not the bad guy here. I just want your eyes.
I do think
Whereas
that
everybody else is kind of like, definitely, oh, black is cooler. It's, different.
He's so
I want
muscular.
that. Yeah.
Black is in. When he said black is in style, is when I was like, yeah, okay, this is pretty fucked up.
A lot of the movie. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the Stephen Root character wanting him like, not just like I want to be able to see, so that's why I want you. But the fact that he's admired his work, and that's why he's like, that's why I want your eyes. I'll be honest. Made me feel kind of bad for the fact that the blind guy, like, who loved art couldn't do his shit anymore. Like, basically, he was self-reliant, or he was reliant on his assistant to describe the stuff to him.
But at the same time, I'm like, could they not just replace his eyes? But I guess you, like, get your youth back at the same time.
That's the thing is, it's like,
the
other thing is he doesn't want...
They literally figured out how to place you in a fucking other body, like part of your brain in another person's body. They couldn't just.
The thing is, though, is they don't just want themselves, but in a new body. They want everything that person is, except they want control. So like it's not just like the physical eyes. It's like the brain that connects to the eyes that has the eye, like the eye for art. And
so, he wants the look to be able to look in the camera and be like, that's a good picture, because that's what Chris does.
Right. And I think a lot of that point, again, all of this kind of points to, I think, like a critique of the fetishization of like black people and black culture by white people. Like basically they're like, oh, I am going to take your culture and appropriate it for myself, and by force, and also only when it benefits me entirely, And so it seems like a lot of the movie kind of is a critique on that.
I didn't realize, I think I said this last night to you, Cam, but when I was watching the movie, I didn't realize, so at the very beginning in like the intro, when they show like Chris's apartment, I was like, this looks familiar. I shot a movie in Mobile, Alabama, in that same like apartment complex. So like when she opens the elevator doors, we went to the one that's like straight ahead, and she turns to the left and goes to like a different apartment. Like we shot in that building for another movie. I was like, oh shit. Like I didn't realize it at first, and I was like, that looks so familiar. Oh wait. Because I was like, we were working on another movie, and people on the crew had worked on Get Out, and when they won like the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay or Original Screenplay, I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Are you guys excited? They're like, no, I don't care. Like, I get the check, whatever. Like, I don't get anything from this. Like, I don't get the award. I was like, that's fair.
Sure, but it still seems you can. I mean, I don't know.
It looks good on your resume.
Pretty cool. Still
right,
seems
Oscar
pretty cool
winner.
to say I worked on this Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
look, we're all married, but I guarantee you if a single guy was like, oh yeah, I worked on this Oscar-winning movie, that's probably like the best pickup line at a bar, right? Or like the coolest way to say what your job is. I work
And then
on
they
an
ask, and
Oscar-winning
you're
movie.
like, "Oh yeah, it was Schindler's List." They're like,
It was
Don't
Birth
want
of
an
a
Oscar.
Nation.
"What's the
it's the
coolest
Green
movie?
Book. Oh no.
What's the coolest
worked on
movie you
this-
could say?" And they would.
I worked
and
on
that
a
would,
success
That would be the end.
on a successful movie. What was it? Boss Baby?
Minions 2. The coolest movie? I mean, I think anything trending at the time is probably what
Probably Marvels or something.
Marvel, Everything Everywhere All at Once probably would be good.
Depending on what you did,
Maybe
Top
Batman.
Gun.
Top Gun, maybe.
I feel like if you're like, oh yeah, I worked on the aerial shots in Top Gun, then I'd be like, that's pretty fucking cool.
It's pretty sweet.
Probably the scene that stuck with me the most, and I think most people who watch it's probably the most memorable one, is the one that Ben was talking about, where Walter the groundskeeper is like running the grandpa, I guess, as well. He's a man of many names, but where he's like running in the dark because you find out earlier that the grandfather lost to Jesse Owens in the what was it, the 36 Olympics or whatever.
Oh.
But so it's like, he's like running in his new body and stuff. But that like imagery of him like running, and he like hits small
The
beam
90-degree
of light.
turn.
Well, that, but he also hits like
okay.
the small beam of light. So it's like, you're like, huh, what is that? And then he like runs, and it's like, whoop, you get to see him for like a second, goes back in the darkness for a second. You see him again when he hits the light again, and then does that like 90-degree turn. You're like, oh shit. And then what's her face? Georgina is like sitting in the window, like looking at herself in the reflection. You're just like, eh.
Well, she's not just looking at herself. She's fixing her wig, because they all have to wear
cover the
wigs
scar.
because they cover the scar.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be honest. That was the hardest part of the movie for me to watch.
The them cutting into the
Yep.
person.
Oh my god.
I don't know why, but like, not necessarily body horror, because like, whatever, like somebody gets their arm
Mutilation?
chopped off in a movie, that's fine. No, mutilation, I'm cool with, whatever, dude.
He
It's
loves
the literal
mutilation.
like, it's the
Gets off
actual,
Mutilation gets a 2 thumbs up from Dylan.
it's the
You heard it-
actual like
you heard it here
medical
first.
procedure stuff that like bugs the fuck out of me.
Nah, man, it's anything. It doesn't matter that I know it's fake. I know it is fake. Anytime I see like even people getting like blood drawn in movies, just makes me feel like such a little bitch that I'm just like,
We should do Hostel.
Like, I feel like I'm about to faint looking at it. I don't like blood. I don't like.
There's a
I'm
scene.
not about
There's
it.
a scene in Hostel that still scars me to this day. That I'm like, I will not watch this movie again because of, like, one of the characters. I forget what happens exactly. I think she gets like a blowtorch to her eye, until like her eye's like dangling out, and they have to literally like cut her eye out. And I'm like, that's fucking disgusting. And that is like,
Why?
I've never watched that movie again, and I will never watch that movie again because of that. Because that was it. Eye things and actual medical stuff in movies. No, thank you.
Just like anything where it's like putting a needle in, or like I said, like you see like a needle go in and the blood come out, and I'm just like, why do we have to show this? Why? Although I will say, I think the worst thing I've seen, I can't remember what fucking movie it was, but it was like a torture scene where they were doing like a paper cut or something, like between like the
Everything
fingers.
everywhere all at once.
Oh my
It wasn't
god,
a
yes.
torture scene, but yeah.
No, but it's like to get to the
for
next
some reason-
world or whatever.
For some reason,
is,
yeah.
Yes, they have to like create pain, or what? They have to do something
my
outlandish to get to
God.
the next place.
They have to do something their character they would never do.
That one broke me. And I think there's been other, like, maybe I'm combining two, because I also think of one with like the bamboo, where they've done like a war movie where they've done like the torture scenes with
Yeah.
like the bamboo shoots. Oh god. Oh, can't
It's
do
funny
it.
because like Hannah will not watch Everything Everywhere All at Once because of that scene. Like she glanced over and saw it when I was watching it. She's like, "Nope, I'm not gonna watch it." I'm like, and "That's
Just
literally
turn.
2 seconds of the movie."
That's like the worst part. Like, just turn your head away for a second.
It's like it's only a few minutes of the movie, if even.
I literally
Even a few
had to,
minutes. It's like 30 seconds. I guess
literally
they
had to
do
do
go
that
around
thing.
trying to like.
Yes. Yeah, they do it several times. But I literally did that thing where I cover my, like, like, have to, like, weirdly look. Like, cover my... So, I realize I'm doing this...
emoji.
I'm doing this on a camera. I'm doing this on a camera so people who don't see this, which is no one because we don't record these video, can understand what's going on. But, like, when you cover your eyes with your hands, but then, like, you slowly
And you like kind of like
shift a
peek
hand,
through the one.
like, yeah. like you can still perfectly see what's going on, but in your head you're like, no, it's safe because I can block it out if I need to. I had to do that anytime that they were showing him cutting into the head. I was like, no, this ain't me, dog. This is not me. Impaling a man with a deer, no problem at all. Cutting a man's head open, nope, I'm out.
That's what I'm saying. Like if somebody gets like stabbed or like something happens, I'm cool with that. It's still like because they take time and it's like oh, we're doing like really delicate like incisions and like cuts and we like remove the thing and I'm like,
Well, that's the thing. I think when you
like,
see
they
it,
live
it's
in
like
those things, but the other
Yes.
things happen like super quick and it's like okay,
super
I'm fine,
fast.
cool.
Because that dude's like, even when he went to like when Chris stabs the mom, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. But watching him when he's like slowly like setting up the scalpel and I'm like, oh nope, I'm out. This movie gets a 0 out of 10 from me, man. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look away.
It's something about taking the time and like living in that for a second. You're just like, no thanks. So a couple things that I had like I never realized that they do the classic thing where they say the title of the film in the movie.
Yeah.
When Lakeith Stanfield like, okay, here's my problem. A little bit picking apart the movie. That this big fancy procedure literally is broken by a flash on a camera. You're telling me none of these people, and maybe that's why they're like, oh, we're homebodies now, but like none of these people have ever gotten a photo taken in the time where they've transitioned into this new body.
Well, it's possible they know that that's a weakness and they just don't do it.
True, I guess, but
And clearly, like, they have a procedure for like hypnotizing the person back down, you know? Like, they clearly have a procedure for like, all right, their subconscious broke out, we need to put it back down.
send it back to the sunken place.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's a thing that they might know is a thing, but obviously he wouldn't know. And so they just don't encounter it often. Because, I mean, like, they're like a cult. They, like, all just hang out in their, like, rich houses, like, off on a bunch of land.
Ways.
And they all hang out with each other. And, yeah, they don't do much beyond that.
So Jim Hudson, Stephen Root's character, takes over Chris's body and decides to go back into photography. Wouldn't he be fucked the first time he takes a picture and the camera flashes?
Well, it's not flashing at him, but I do agree that could be a potential problem for him.
But couldn't that be a potential, like, even though, like, I think, it's not flashing directly in his face, but, like, if he saw the flash of light, wouldn't that...
It probably has to be, like, into your eyes directly, but that is, like, yeah.
Get the full weird Men in Black treatment where all of a sudden you just don't remember where you are.
Yeah.
The actor that we haven't touched upon, who I thought completely stole this fucking movie, and that's Lil Rel Howery.
Yeah.
Dude was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, dude, this like started his career basically. Like he flew off out of the gate after this movie.
Yeah, but he'd been in others because he was in the comedian was a writer on Conan. Gerard Carmichael. Gerard Carmichael had a show, and I think he was in that show. I think it was literally just named after Gerard Carmichael.
Yeah, the Carmichael Show from 2015 to 2017.
Yes, he was in that, right?
Yeah, But like,
Yeah.
I feel like after this is when he like, because after this he was in Uncle Drew, Tag, Bird Box. He was in Good Boys. He was in I feel like got in a lot more bigger stuff because of this. Because he does.
He was in Judas and the Black Messiah again with Daniel Kaluuya.
I think that might have been more Daniel Kaluuya and less of the fact
And
that
maybe,
but
him and
he was in
Daniel
Free
are,
Guy.
like, him and Daniel are apparently like really good friends.
Hey, Free Guy's a solid movie. I like Free Guy.
It's
a fun
movie.
movie.
A solid movie.
I have not
fun
watched
movie.
that one.
It was a fun movie.
It was a fun family movie.
I kind of forget, because there is like, I mean, it's a horror movie first and foremost, but I kind of forget how humorous some parts of the movie are.
Yeah, I like how he doesn't fall for the girl's shit. Because, like, he's on the phone and, like, she is obviously, like, you know, we see her view and she's, like, you know, poker face on her side.
Yeah.
And I feel like the audience, you're thinking, like, man, she is just lying out of her teeth. And he puts it on pause and he's like, that lying bitch. What the? And they're like, yes, you know. You know. You're not falling for it.
Tingle doesn't fucking lie. That bitch is fucking lying. And then he goes and, like, turns on, he's like, record. And then when she's like, I know you wanted to fuck me, and he's like, God damn it.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't want that. Chris is my best friend. I don't want that. What is happening? Why are you saying this?
Like, she's so fucking good. Damn it.
She's a genius.
When he just, like, calls, like, up front, when Chris calls him and he's like, I got hypnotized. Just get the fuck out of here. Bro, I don't care who that bitch is. She can't fix my motherfucking life. It's like, what if they make you like a fucking sex slave and shit? And then he goes into the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing. He's like, look, Jeffrey Dahmer was eating the shit out of heads, okay? But that was after he fucked the heads. Do you think they saw that shit coming? No. All right? They went over there. They're like, I'm just going to suck a little dick, fondle little balls. Some shit. No, they didn't get a chance to jiggle shit because their head was off their fucking body. It's just like, I'm not making this up. I saw it on A&E.
Yeah, no, his character was great. And then at the end, I feel like you're like, oh, fuck, there's a cop there? Oh, no. And then it's him. You're like, yes!
As soon as you see him go to open the door and the door just says transport, I was
like airport
yes!
or something, yeah.
It says Transport Security Administration.
That's what I wanted to, like, bring up was, like, you know, typically at the end of these movies, you know, when you see the cop show up, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, like, the cop is here, like, it's over, like, it's a good thing. But then, because of the whole context of this movie and, like, you know, Chris is black and stuff, like, once the cop shows up, you're like, oh, fuck, like, this is bad. Like, it kind of turns that traditional, like, horror film, like, oh, the cops are here, it's all good, but it's actually, fuck, they're not here. You know, like that sort of thing. But then you're like, oh shit. And then once Rod gets out of the car, you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. No,
it alleviates that, like, with that little bit of humor where he's like, how did you find me? You know, like, oh, I'm the TS motherfucking A. Like, we get shit done or whatever.
I think the ending, I mean, I'm curious what you guys think. I think the ending of this movie is so satisfying because they don't prolong him, like, leaving the house too long, and he just immediately just starts going on a tear. Like, he gets out of the chair, he beats the first dude with the bocce ball, goes in, impales the dad with the stuff thing, kills him. Yep. Goes upstairs, takes the knife to the hand like a fucking champ, stabs her with it while it's still in his hand. It was just like, yes, get him. Yes.
I was watching this for the first time, and I'm like watching him as he's like picking at the chair, and I'm like, then I see him like pay attention. I'm like, so what is he? I mean, is he just realizing he can like maybe pick? I was so confused. And then when they show him like asleep as the guy walks in, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh my God, I know what he did. He used the chair, the cotton ball, whatever that they've got stuffed into the chair to make earplugs. I'm like, oh my God. Because as soon as they play the teacup and like he faints, I'm like, what the fuck was his thing with the chair? Maybe he's like thinking like I can just pluck my way through this chair and eventually I'll get out. It's like, I don't know where this is going. But as soon as the son walked in with the wheelchair, I was like, oh, this completely makes sense. Baller move, Chris. Baller move.
Yeah, I was waiting, like, I was like, oh, what does he do? Does he, like, get a spring or something out of the chair? I forgot for a second. And then I was like, yeah, earplugs. Like, to Cam's point about how quick the movie goes, I paused the movie for a second, and I was like, oh, man, all right, I got, like, 20 minutes left. I'll definitely finish this before, like, once we put the baby down or whatever. And I turn it on, like, and it was, like, right when they start the medical procedure, and I was like, okay, 20 minutes, let's see. I forget how crazy shit gets in the last 20 minutes. Like,
yeah,
like
it goes,
you said, like,
it goes
flies
fast
through it. It's like everyone fucking dies. Like, yeah, I was just like, holy shit.
The one thing that got to me too that was just like kind of sad was watching Walter after he shoots Rose, and then he like just immediately he takes the gun, and Chris just looks like, oh fuck, I'm screwed, and then he just shoots himself. Is when you're just like, man, this dude had like minutes of getting to be his actual self again, and immediately recognized, like, I don't have long before this before the majority part of my brain takes back over. It's just like, that's kind of sad that like his few moments of clarity is shooting someone and then having the thought to like, if I kill myself now, this person doesn't get to take over again.
I mean, not only that, his suffering ends too, right? Like the other guy is like, explains that he's like, yeah, you're aware of everything that's happening. You're just watching it.
Stuck.
You're just watching it.
Well, they explain it through like the sunken places. Chris is like constantly, it looks like he's watching a TV that's just far away. That's what that guy's life had become. But it's just like,
so this dude's been watching somebody control his body for years, literally years, and then it's like, all right, suffering's over.
But I will say, okay, so that brings me to a question that I had. Now with Lakeith Stanfield's character, they basically had to like they take him into the room to like re-hypnotize. But is it that this guy just doesn't know whether or not he's going to turn back, or like he's going to go back to the sunken place? Because realistically, I mean, technically, if they needed to brainwash Lakeith Stanfield's character, Walter would have then technically, I mean, that's the thing they don't really explain, but if he just been able to go on and he would have been him?
That is a good question. I imagine that what it is more akin to is more of like an emergency procedure. Like maybe they would calm down eventually. Like maybe they would go back to having the white person in control at some point. But since they were at the party and they needed him to not be telling Chris to leave, like warning him to leave, they were probably like, we need to get this under control right now. Rather than like, just go home and wait it out or whatever. But I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I think he would know, maybe, like, he was in the dad's or the grandfather's. The grandfather was in his brain, and so he was able to see everything the grandfather talked about and did all the time. So I guess he would probably know, like, what his outlook is.
Yeah, I just don't know, because I mean, even I don't know how much the grandfather would have. I mean, yes, he would have known just due to the fact that they said they've been trying to perfect this for so long. But in reality, the procedure, I mean, I guess he would have been, him or Georgina would have been like the first successful. Well, that's not true. They show those two. Like, those are the only two you see outside of Lakeith Stanfield, which obviously is there to kind of give you, like, from the intro scene to tie in. But
yeah,
Chris looks at, like, it felt
a
like
lot of
almost
pictures.
a dozen pictures.
Yeah. So we really don't know how many
don't know who was the
successful cases there have been.
First, or
yeah.
It's interesting seeing this movie now, seeing Jordan Peele's other movies, like Us. I haven't seen Nope yet, but I know what it's about. It's about aliens, But
what?
I know he had I know he had a big play in like the Twilight Zone remake or like reboot, and so it's interesting seeing how sci-fi this movie is, and like how that is like influenced him, and kind of played into the types of movies that he makes, and really how he like brings like race and like social commentary into his type of horror and sci-fi. And it's cool to see like the beginnings, even though it's literally 5 years ago that his like directorial career started. But it's like I feel like he's one of the biggest names in horror right now, I would say.
It still blows my mind because I remember this dude being on Mad TV in like 2000.
Yeah, like Key and Peele, and now he's he's kind of he's one of those guys that turned into like an artist.
When Key and Peele came out, I remember being like, oh, I remember these guys on Mad TV from a decade ago. And now I'm like, wait a minute, he's making horror movies? Like what the hell is going on here? And not only like is he making them, but I knew they were all reviewed and like seen as being very good. But watching it, I was like, wow, it's hard to believe that this is the same guy who gave us, Aaron and Balake. And now he's giving us like super, like super critical thinking horror movies.
Well, and I think it's a benefit because I mean we do get some of the like alleviating funny moments. It's not as much in Us. Sometimes it happens in Us, but especially in this and Nope, like I think there's a lot of like
Lil Rel Howery character screams Peele. Like, that one to me screams like a sketch comedy type character that I'm like, okay, this part makes sense.
It's like the I mean, Lil Rel Howard's like his character Rod is like essentially he's like the guy who's like self-aware and like Scream, or like the person who's watched a lot of like true crime and is like trying to like solve stuff as it's going along. I mean, I know he's like a TSA officer, so he's like probably obviously got like a little heightened sense of like shit going weird, but like.
Have you gone through an airport recently? I watched a man, literally as I'm trying to get to my goddamn flight, I watched a TSA person through TSA pre-check that took like 5 minutes to look at every single bag that passed through, to the point where the TSA pre-check line took twice as long as the regular security line.
Wow.
They're observant sometimes. But, like...
There's not much evidence to show that they actually stop anything.
All right, okay.
I know you're trying to get off the subject, but I won't let you.
We're not going to let you. Body him, Cam.
I'm not going to let you... I'm not going to let you stand the TSA, okay?
I'm not even... their Twitter account, or their Instagram account, where they partner with National Park Service all the time, is very funny. Whoever runs their social media...
It's always like, 20-year-olds. Yeah, like props to the 20-year-olds.
Props to the TSA people that have never actually worked in an airport. Way to go, you guys.
In the original ending, Chris is arrested by the police after strangling Rose. Instead of rescuing Chris, Rod meets him in jail and asks him for information about the Armitage family to investigate. But Chris insists that he stopped them and everything is fine. Peele intended this ending to reflect the realities of racism. By the time the production had begun, however, several high-profile police shootings of black people had made discussion. In Peele's word, more woke. After gauging reception at test screenings, he decided the film needed a happy ending, but felt a moment when the audience believes Chris is about to be arrested would preserve the intended reaction.
I like that. Yeah, I like how it is.
He considered several other endings, some of which are included on the DVD and Blu-ray release. In one ending, Rod breaks into the estate, finds Chris, and calls his name, but Chris responds, "I assure you, I don't know who you're talking about." That is interesting. I like this ending more because you get both sides. I feel like you get the oh shit, here's the cops, like like you assume what's going to happen, but then you also get the happy ending after that. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I
well,
like
if
that a
with
little
him
more.
escaping too, I think you also get the I feel like a lot of horror movies end pretty poorly nowadays, and it's nice to have one where it's like yep, he's killing them all. They're all dead. He's doing it to them.
Ben had not seen this film, so he's the lone goob. He's going to give you a fresh rating after seeing Get Out for the first time, and Cam and I will give you a nostalgia rating and an updated rating after seeing it after some time.
All right. Whew. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm pretty happy with myself for not seeing or looking into a lot about this movie beforehand, kind of going in pretty blind. Is this considered it's considered a horror movie?
Yep.
I don't know that I consider it as much a horror movie. I consider it much more of like a thriller, which gets pluses for me. I'm a huge fan of a thriller, even, I mean, kind of mystery type genre. So this movie was right up my alley. I very much enjoyed it. I thought that Jordan Peele did a great job of sprinkling just enough comedy and levity into it without making it feel over the top or like, it's not only a horror, but it's a horror comedy. Like, nope, I didn't want it to feel like that. I'm glad they kind of didn't. They didn't overuse, was it Rod? To the point where it just felt like, ugh, really? Now we have to deal with, like, the comedic relief point. There was a little bit of predictability, but I will say, even with a little bit of the predictability, the breadcrumbs in that are left a little bit that you have to look for or pay attention to pick up on clues of what's happening, it's a thing I really enjoy. I think that's a huge part of making a really good thriller or mystery movie is that it has to have something that if you go back and rewatch it, you kind of notice things that you didn't see the first time, that when you know what's coming, you get to kind of pick up on. I think it really helps with rewatchability. The part I enjoyed was the fact that, I mean, up until you kind of met the brother, with the mom and the dad, they did such a good job of being like, are they just awkward? Or is something weird? Like, there's times where you're like, yeah, these people seem pretty fucking weird. But then you're like, you know what? Maybe they're just supposed to be like awkward white people. They're awkward parents. Like, that's just what it is. Their parents meeting their daughter's boyfriend for the first time. But then as you go on, you realize, like, no, you were right to get the creeped out vibe. This movie's really good. If you haven't seen it, you should get out and see it.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, this honestly is probably, man, geez, guys, this is hard. Because I went into it thinking between two numbers.
Between 1 and 10.
No, two numbers, well, between 8 and 9. And I think I might give it like a 9. Like, I think this is a really good movie. I think there's, like I said, it does such a good job of blending the horror, but also the tension of a thriller. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen this, definitely check it out. It's worth a watch.
Going in, I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. And I think I'm going to leave it there. I really like this movie. What I like about this movie is it does what traditional horror does, and it has a social commentary. Like, there's a historic thing in horror of doing social commentary within horror, because it's a very easy genre to tackle some of these topics. I think this movie is probably one of the best modern horror movies, and I feel like it's very deserving of Jordan Peele to have his kind of like seat at the table of like the top horror directors right now, because I would probably put I'd probably put Jordan Peele there. I'd probably put Ari Aster, who did like Hereditary and Midsummer, and then I'd probably put like Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and The Lighthouse. Maybe Ty West, but like a lot of people haven't seen his other movies besides like X and Pearl. But I mean, he makes fucking good movies. I think Peele's movies kind of transcend that a little bit. Like Ben was saying, like he's like, I don't think this movie's horror. I think it's definitely horror, but I think it also leans heavily into the mystery aspect because you're kind of like trying to also figure out what is going on. Like, what is this mystery? Like, what is happening with this family? A lot of the mystery is like you're trying to figure out what are these creepy white people doing, you know? It's a good movie, like you guys said. Performances amazing. There's a couple of moments where you're kind of like dreading. You're like, oh shit, like Chris is screwed. But kind of what we talked about, like the ending is very rewarding because like for a lot of horror films, towards the end you're like, I just want to see the good guy win sometimes, you know? Like I don't need dread all the time. And I think this movie kind of gives you that little alleviation at the end of like, fuck, he went through so much, but like he made it out and he kind of got the revenge and the just desserts, and it's a little satisfying towards the like at the end, you know. You're like, damn, good for you, Chris. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at an 8. I do think this is one that people need to watch. It's a great movie, if not just to be like, watch this, then you can go watch Us, then you can go watch Nope, and just kind of go through the whole filmography of Jordan Peele and be like, there's a reason why he's one of the best horror directors right now.
So initially thinking about this movie, I was thinking a rating of a 9. Like I said, I think I had seen it once or maybe twice, but I haven't seen it in a while. And I said this earlier, and I maintain this point. Jordan Peele does nothing in his movies on accident. If you think there's symbolism in something that is on screen for 2 seconds, you're probably right. And to bring that point home, I'll leave you with this, which I didn't even consider. So at the beginning of the movie, Jeremy is seen wearing a knight's helmet. The helmet is also seen later when Chris gets in Jeremy's car. Jordan Peele explained that the helmet is representative of the family's connection to the ancient Knights Templar. The family, as well as various Caucasian guests that attend the party, are all members of an order which had broken away from the Knights Templar and spent centuries perfecting the coagula procedure in an effort to gain immortality. Now, a lot of people would just say, oh, it's just a scary helmet. Toss it off to the side. It's not. It's not. As a second piece, there's a thing where, you know, as Ben mentioned, he, you know, sticks the stuff from the chair into his ear. Well, they don't really make chairs out of that material. They made one specifically for this movie so that he could do that, so that he could save himself by literally picking cotton from the chair. Like that, and that is confirmed by Jordan Peele, the director. So, like, you know, I think the nice thing about this movie is it's not just a really great thriller horror movie, which it is. It very much is. It is like just a great movie in general. It's filled with symbolism if you want it. If you don't want it, it's, you know, you don't have to care about it. It's a really great thriller movie. Even if you know the outcome of the movie, you're still, in my opinion, like I was still, you know, like on the edge of my seat, you know, waiting for something to happen, you know, waiting for all the events to culminate. And so, you know, I think that this movie really has a lot for everybody, and it goes a lot deeper, as you said, Dylan. It goes a lot deeper than just like the horror genre. So I'm actually going to bump it up. I'm going to make it a 10 out of 10. It's really good. It's worth a watch from, I don't know, pretty much anybody.
Is there anything that you watched lately besides Get Out that you would want to recommend?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sure. Across the Spider-Verse. There you go.
Oh, you saw it? It's
Yeah.
worth it?
It's
like
banging.
the number one movie
It's
on
great.
Letterboxd of all time. So.
Yeah, it's really good. It's at least as good as the first one, if not better, honestly. So, yeah.
Did you get to see it, Ben?
I don't want to talk about it.
Uh-oh.
What?
No.
Oh. My only complaint is how it ends. I don't really like how it ends, but I understand. why it ended how it did, but I don't really like it.
Well, there's another one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it's got to end a little semi-open-ended.
I don't want to put more out there, but that's my only complaint. Everything else was like, man, this is great. This is really great. This is good. So yeah, I would recommend that.
Ben, anything?
No. Here's my whatever recommendations. Don't fly Frontier Airlines.
I mean, that's just good general life advice.
Yeah, that's what I can advise you. Because there's no in-flight movies to watch and be able to enjoy, and also they'll cancel/change your flights around, and
fun.
You'll also sit in a chair that's like a bus seat for 4 hours and just absolutely hate yourself. So just don't do it.
Sounds pretty bad.
My recommendation, I recently watched this movie called Seconds. And if you liked this movie, you might like that one. It's an old sci-fi thriller. Basically, it's an unhappy middle-aged banker agrees to a procedure that will fake his death and give him a completely new look and identity, one that comes with its own price. And it stars like Rock Hudson. Very like claustrophobic feeling, like cinematography and stuff. It's from 1966. Pretty horror, sci-fi, thriller-esque. It's kind of fucked. I would highly recommend it. And it's very ahead of its time, I feel like. That's my recommendation. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Cocktails and Classics Pod. Hit up the new website, www.cocktailsandclassicspod.com.